I'm Kathy Blackman. I'm the owner of the Grog Shop and B-Side Lounge in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. How did the Grog come to be? It really just sort of happened organically. I sort of fell into opening a bar with a couple of friends. We were all working at a restaurant in University Circle area called Club Isabella. And I was pretty much straight out of college. I think I was a year out of college. And we just started talking about this bar at the corner of Coventry and Mayfield that didn't do any business. The guys used to hang out there, and they started talking to the owner and said, hey, can we take over this bar? We had no experience, very little money. And we just said, hey, we're going to try to make something here.
I don't think they initially had any intention of being a live concert venue. They were just some friends that liked to drink and hang out with all their other friends, I guess. Matt, one of the partners, was very much into music and started booking some bands, and I jump ahead a few years, and he was mostly into like punk rock and that kind of stuff. So jump ahead a few years, and Kathy ended up buying out the two partners and took the whole live music thing and ran with it.
It really evolved into a concert club, but just with time, I think that's sort of what stuck, and we learned that we were good at, presenting live music and, had fun doing it, so we started doing it more.
In the wider world, I think the Grog Shop is, pretty well known at this point. Not a lot of clubs in the United States or even outside of the United States have, on this scale anyway, we're a 400 capacity club.
There's a lot of people who started out here. Maybe they were young and they were just playing in their first band, and then they've gone on to be in 10 other bands, and they've left Cleveland and come back to Cleveland, and then they walk in this place and they have memories like, oh my God, this is where I played my first show. Or they're a touring band where this is the first time they played a show that they were in a van, sleeping on somebody's floor. We definitely are the first rung in many ladders for a lot of people, and I like to think that people really feel great when they come back, like, oh my God, like you said, you watch it and you feel like nothing's changed. Bands say that. Bands who come every year who haven't been here in 10, 15 years will walk back in, they're like, wow, it feels like home. And old customers will say that. People who moved away from Cleveland and come back and they walk in, they see the same faces, they get that same feeling. It feels like the Grog Shop. It feels like home. It feels comfortable. You feel like you belong, and it's a good feeling, I hope.
People just know, the name, whether you've ever been there or not. You've scanned enough, tour schedules or seen enough T-shirts that have, the different stops on a tour, on some, someone in front of you wearing a T-shirt, and you recognize these names, over the years. And the Grog Shop has been there for so long. I think, people just. It's a given that we're here, maybe.
I discovered the Grog Shop because it was just like an institution. Like as soon as I got into music, that was just like, oh, that's like the place where you go. I grew up going to shows at the Grog Shop. I think the first show I went there to see, I was 13. And I've been there hundreds of times over the years and have attended and played hundreds of shows. I have been a performer, I have been an employee, I have put up flyers, I have answered phones, I've sold tickets, I've designed posters. I'd like to think that I'm a part of the extended family.
The state of the Grog just prior to COVID. Basically a smoothly oiled machine chugging along.
In September, we celebrated our 28-year anniversary, so we were well into our, well into a quarter century mark in the rock scene in Cleveland. And we were doing what we've been doing all along, booking a variety of genres of bands, predominantly touring bands. Basically, we were doing a little bit of everything from indie rock to Americana to, we did a lot of hip hop acts, heavy metal, punk, every night we try to mix it up and keep it different, but it was basically touring acts. All original music from around the country and the world, and then supplementing here and there with some local shows or local support bands. And that's what we were doing, We were a live music venue, hosting shows 7 nights a week.
It was March, which in the concert business, March you get a lot of people start hitting the road. So you got a lot of the bigger acts, a lot of, touring on new records and stuff. So we had a very full schedule looking ahead. Beginning of March, I know that we had, something like, I remember there being like, I don't remember exactly what the shows were, but there were like 3 sold out shows right in a row, and then bam, I remember South by Southwest being canceled, and then I feel like it was like the next day or maybe 2 days later, just pulled the rug out from under us, and everything was shut down,
I was seeing certain shows starting to cancel. I'm like, oh my God, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And then it happened, and it was sort of like, like a volcano erupted.
I mean, it's decimated live music as we know it. I mean, it's a place that is built for an exchange of energy, up close energy. You can't put a concert in a to-go box and do curbside pickup for your favorite band. You can't order a good conversation online. You can't live stream sing along to your favorite bands in the same way that you can when you're in a small room with a few hundred people all experiencing this together. So, for me, witnessing something like this, it's just like absolutely terrifying and unprecedented, and like, we're watching so many of my favorite places close through all over the country, and like I'm just like holding my breath that this doesn't happen too.
So at the beginning, it was a lot of uncertainty. So you were sort of like in go mode, like, okay, we got to figure out what to do. We got to figure out how to take care of the staff. We're going to have a fundraiser. We're going to make sure all the employees get paid so they can eat, and blah, blah, blah. And, let's immediately take care of those around us. John Neely has been my bar manager ever since we've been here. He basically is the face behind the bar. He has worked for me since, over 20 years.
It was very exciting to work there for me, just because I was so into music, and I spent my whole life just going to shows before I got a job at the Grog Shop, so it was, made sense.
Brittany sort of started here as an intern, and she sort of is my right-hand person in the office and is amazing.
Wallace Settles and Rachel Hunt. There's John Kalman. There's John Douglas.
Marty is also a bartender who's been here forever.
The way I would refer to it all the time was like Kathy, Britt, and the Johns.
I suppose it's just one of those jobs that it's hard to leave.
And then, as the realization sort of settled in that this probably wasn't going away anytime soon, and there was bills and rent and long-time worries piling up, it was like, how do we take care of the Grog Shop itself to make sure that there is a Grog Shop for everybody to come back to? So we're just hoping that some subsidy comes through, because there really has been very little. The PPP loan was a joke for us because it didn't really cover much, because we don't have high payroll, and it didn't last very long, and everybody was on unemployment. They didn't want to come back to work. We weren't even open. What are you going to come back to do? So we need more money. We need more government subsidy. So I'm a professional t-shirt maker now. We sell a lot of merch. Obviously, merch is not going to pay the way, but it's a little bit, and we've done a ton of fundraisers. And people, like the community has been like incredibly, incredibly supportive. I cannot thank my patrons enough for their generosity. It's like heartwarming to see how many people are like, you can't leave us, you can't fail. I have a lot more appreciation now for nonprofits and what they have to struggle, and it's like a continual ask.
We've done a couple small shows here and there, and in the last month, we started this, weekly series of, one show a week, basically, local bands. Get a table, everything's seated now, seated and masked and distanced.
They've had a lot of visual involvement with an artist named Jake Kelly, who, painted the big murals inside. I love those murals so much. I've caught myself looking at that mural when I was 13 and 17 and 21 and 24 and 30, just like looking at it and just being like, yeah, it is totally a weird time to be alive right now. I
was pretty much always a glasses half full type person. It's getting emptier as time goes on. I'm not going to lie. I don't usually look at the downside of things. I'm a pretty positive person. You either like sink further or you climb out of it. So I'm a sort of a climber usually. So I'm trying my best.
We're kind of like an anchor business.
I think I'm sort of an anchor on this street. We represent something that brings a lot of different people to an area that is welcomed by everybody.
Any given week, there might be 2, 3, 4 nights during that week where we're bringing 400 plus people to the immediate street.
Well, everybody came down to Coventry, and they trickled down. People shopped at the stores, and they ate at the restaurants, and they patronized all our neighbors, which was great. So I definitely think to the neighborhood, I'm an anchor, and have been for quite some time.
The Grog is a cultural institution in Cleveland. Like, I've toured all over the world, and as soon as I say like, oh yeah, I'm from Cleveland, people are like, oh, Grog Shop. Like, it is a signifier and a symbol of Cleveland, and like particularly the cool stuff in Cleveland that like people don't know about, because Cleveland is like, it's not what people in the business call an A market city. It's like, it's a little bit gritty, it's a little rough around the edges, but like, we're proud of it,
Well, there's been a few mainstays for a while, between the Beachland and Now That's Class and the Happy Dog.
What are some ways that people could support us and other live venues in the area and like buy our merchandise? I mean, it's something little, but you're getting something of it. Or you can wear a cool Grog Shop or Beachland Ballroom t-shirt somewhere and get noticed and recognized throughout the world.
If you're comfortable, we've been doing these small shows. If you're comfortable coming out, by all means, reserve a table, grab a friend or a couple friends and come out and have some drinks and enjoy your night, and see some great music.
Ohio State Bill 785 was just introduced by Kent Smith. That is going to help save Ohio stages if it passes. So many of the CARES Act funding has been awarded already, and it's kind of goes to either nonprofits or arts organizations, and the for-profit live music industry has sort of fallen between the cracks. So we really need something specific to us.
I feel like, if enough people put pressure on their representatives to support the bills and get a vote on them, then maybe we could keep these places open for a while.
The Grog Shop, it's like my first child. It's my identity, really. Like, I'm Grog Shop Kathy. I mean, without the Grog Shop, what would I be? What would I do? I don't even know. I've been doing this so long, and I'm so intertwined with this identity.
They took a chance on me being a 14-year-old kid who like wanted to book a show there, and they put me on a bill. They gave me a chance. They recognized that I was like a young person making music in a community, and like gave me a space to try these things and to become myself. And I think that if they hadn't been willing to do that, if they hadn't been willing to like be like, look, we're going to give back to our local community in this way, and like actually get members of a local music scene involved, like, I don't know who I would have become. Like, I figured out who I was in that room.
It's a place where anybody can come at any point in their life and feel safe. There's so many different walks of lives and people that come in here, and there's no judgments. It's like everybody's here for a common cause. They love music. They want to come see a band. When you come in here, you're part of the Grog Shop family, and I think that really, it makes everybody feel comfortable for the most part. And if not, then they won't come back.
It's just one of the best venues in the country. It's just like, I've toured all around the world, and like, when you talk with people who tour and who travel and who play music, like, it comes up in conversation.
It means the world to me, and I would hate to see it go. We've been in business for 28 years, and we want to remain in business, so we need your help. There's a new Ohio bill, number 785, called Save Ohio Stages, and we need to be saved. So anything you could do, write your congresspeople, write your senators, say, please support this bill. Tell your friends who live in other parts of the state that we need this to be a bipartisan effort, and we need these lawmakers to understand that for-profit performing arts venues are engines of their communities, and they are just as important as nonprofits, and we need to be safe because we were the first to be closed down. We're definitely going to be the last to open up, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. And without this subsidy, all these clubs will be closed, and you will have nowhere to go see bands.
Any little bit helps, you know? Like, those places give us so much, and the least we can do is give back a little bit.
Save our stages.
Good?